Welcome to the Volusia County Council meeting. The meeting will begin in 10 minutes. Welcome to the Volusia County Council meeting. The meeting will begin in 5 minutes. Welcome to the Volusia County Council meeting. The meeting will begin in 2 minutes.
Test. Hey, we have sound.
I was just tripping last meeting, wasn't it?
Oh, jeez. All right, if everybody wants to find a seat, we've got about 60 seconds before we start.
Hey, I like this new countdown clock. No, but it's on these monitors and that one right there.
Okay, we'll call the November 1st, 2022 Volusia County Council meeting to order, and we will start, as always, with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. So in just a minute, I'll ask you to stand if you care to, but I want to tell you that if you are a member of a faith group who would like to participate in an invocation, send an email to Green, like the color, Green, at volusia.org, and we will get you set up to do that. All faiths are welcomed. So if you would stand for the invocation by Bishop Norris Brinson of the Heart Temple Church of God in DeLand, and then just remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Bishop.
We greet everyone in the name of our Lord and Savior. We give honor to County Chair and all our representatives today. We are delighted to offer our services. I've been pastoring here in DeLand 45 years. This is my first time having the honor to do this, and I'm honored to come and share my ministry today. I'm going to ask us just to close our eyes and take our mind off our business and just set it on high. Come, let us exalt his name together. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We pause just to worship. It is you that has made us, not we ourselves. We're your people. Your word teaches we're the sheep of your pasture. And so, Father, you've laid it on the heart of the chair to honor you today. We all come together in the name of the Lord, worshiping you. Thank you, Father, for these men and women that have set their heart to do business, to serve the masses. Father, we pray blessings on every continent, every nation, every state. Certainly we pray blessings on Volusia County and our municipality. Father, we stretch our hands to you, that you would shower down upon these today that's gathered your wisdom, your understanding. Help us, Lord. Our world is in trouble. Our cities are in trouble. Our families are in trouble. Father, we remember what you said. Call you in the day of our troubles, and you will answer us. You will show us great and mighty things that we knew not. And Father, we depend on you today to give wisdom, to give understanding and knowledge to these representatives. Father, we pray now in the name of Jesus that our minds would melt and be molded and make us one for our one cause. Let this world be a better place through our diligent hands as we put our minds together. God, we pray now for these that have sacrificed to serve in government. Strengthen their bodies. Keep them agile. Bless their family members. God, we pray now for these that we offer service to as they bring their causes today. We ask, Father, that we offer up the best of our service to the glory and the honor of you. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Okay, Carissa, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Johnson. Dr. Lowry.
Here.
Ms. Post.
Here.
Mr. Robbins. Ms. Wheeler. Here. Ms. Gertman.
Here.
Mr. Brower.
Here. We do have a quorum, 100% here, and we will start, as always, with public participation. And I will just call your name in the order that they were handed in. And when I do, if you would just come to the podium, you will have 3 minutes to speak on any subject that you care to. There is a timer that you will see above me, but it's also on the monitor there. And when you come forward, if you would just tell us where you're from, what part of the county you're from, so that we all, so that the council knows. First, we have Eunice Miller.
Eunice Miller, 107 Point Sienna Lane, Deltona, unincorporated, Volusia County. Good morning, councilmen and women. On May 16th of this year, I emailed Human Resources and CC'd CM Rechtenwald, Councilman Brower, Robbins, Lowry, Councilwoman Post, and Gertman, in reference to a request of understanding of the criteria of eligibility for the American Rescue Plan Act premium the council approved on March 15, 2022. In this email, I asked about the Florida statutes and federal regulations cited to staff that dictates how staff is qualified to receive the premium. No answer. I asked about those staff members who didn't qualify because they took a vacation that had to be approved 6 months in advance. No answer. I asked who picked the evaluation period. No answer. I went on to say that the criteria for the $1,000 rescue payment was vague and that to deny a seasoned employee who was without disciplinary action, has exemplary job performance, and worked tirelessly through the pandemic that still wreaks havoc on the department, mostly ignored, was not supporting the recovery of the pandemic. Who was I referring to? My husband, Sergeant Matthew Miller. Only Councilwoman Post responded wanting to know more about the staff who did not receive the premium. CM Rectenwall claimed only about 40 employees out of 2,200 were not eligible and that they will be reviewed individually. Didn't happen. And to date, the HR director has not responded to any of my requests. As a refresher, I wish to cite Section 4 of the resolution you passed that states, if an employee didn't meet the criteria due to the evaluation period designated by the HR director, the employee may qualify for a bonus of the same amount from local funds. Employees will be notified of the plan and evaluation period to begin immediately upon notification and last for 30 days. This did not happen. To date, Volusia County has received well over $300 million in federal funds, but can't afford to pay $1,000 to 57 employees? Yes, you can. Just a few weeks ago, the HR director failed to provide this premium to a staff member on light duty during the evaluation period, but was able to immediately issue that premium to him before he resigned. You may be wondering why not provide Sergeant Miller the premium. To answer this question is easy. It's personal. A quick backstory on Sergeant Miller. He's a stellar corrections officer, very respected by staff, the tenured officer who is never too big to get the job done, one who worked through the pandemic when others took advantage of COVID hours. He went to work and did the job when it was at its most dangerous for him. He decided he wanted to do something about staff morale, mistreatment, and turnover. He became a union representative. Since then, he has been treated so unjust that he had to seek EAP services provided to staff. He was placed on administrative assignment to not have contact with inmates for being a witness. To have to be subject to a control room for months was humiliating. The same investigation that resulted in the jail director being investigated to date, and the same jail now being ran by an emotional tyrant who would care less about staff, and now the lieutenants are unionizing.
Mrs.
The
Miller,
lieutenants are
I'm sorry,
unionizing.
we're way over time.
I know, I have one last paragraph.
We will be in contact with
I
you.
have one last paragraph. When asking the HR director about when the premium would be available, she refuses to address it. It's personal, but through it all, he continues to be that highly decorated supervisor. He continues to be that staff member that is respected and who will I will fight 10 times over for. In closing, how do you rectify this? Do you ignore this hardworking staff member who has given almost 18 years to this division, or do you continue to ignore the staff members as the HR director and county manager has? Now is the time to pay attention to your Volusia County Jail. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Richardson.
Morning, Council. My name is Paul Richardson of the Land. Just so you know, everything what I do is I speak on behalf of myself only, not of the council or anybody else. But I come here today to say that I don't support amendments 1 and 3 currently on the ballot. Now, I have nothing against first responders or people who weatherize their houses, but at the same time, all these carve-outs that we're having for property taxes will only, in the long run, raise these taxes. Of course, you guys, not you specifically, but the council in future iteration to raise taxes, property taxes, even on the city level and every other county in Florida. So, because the idea is that these carve-outs will eventually cost money. And you guys, through inflation, rising property taxes will have to increase the taxes, which will be hurtful for rest of the citizens of Florida. So I come in to say vote no on amendments 1 and 3 on the ballots. Instead, what we should do is that recently, last budget, we had Florida State had a $21.8 billion surplus. That's excellent. I mean, we need for a rainy day, especially when it comes to hurricanes and stuff like that. But right now, I sat down recently and with the calculator figured if we give every county government, every sheriff's office, and the 82 school boards $5 million each, it will come out only to $1.08 billion, which will not bust the surplus that Florida has accumulated recently in the last budget. So if I'm hoping someone in the governor's office listening to this, because every time I come up here for a subject, somehow the governor comes out just as for the same subject a day or two later. So hope someone up there is listening, or even a state representative. Maybe they will hear this and say, "Oh, wow, what a great idea!" And this $5 million has to be no strings attached, because you guys are already saddled with many programs and have to spend this and that. And I don't like mandates. So $5 million. That's all we're asking. This is be separate from the $15 million that we'll need to fix our beaches here in Volusia County. So in closing, I don't support further carve-outs for property taxes because, like I said, that only encourages increases in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to remind everybody again, we have a lot of people that want to speak. I want everybody to have the opportunity. So if all the speakers would do what Mr. Richardson just did and just be respectful of other people's time and take your 3 minutes. I'm always generous with time, especially when someone has a complaint against us. We don't discriminate. But I just encourage you to please watch the clock, and I will remind you when time is up. So we'll continue on with Yosef Fisher.
Good morning. Joseph Fisher. I live at 152 Heavens Gate Road. I'm here today to bring up a complaint against City Limits, the bar that opened up about a year ago by our house. When they just moved in, we were actually very happy because they were taking care of the area. They renovated, made things look nice, and we like the bar itself in general. But there is just a very tremendous lot of noise that they bring out. I live 2 houses behind in the trees across the street from them, and still my windows shake at night. I have a 9-month-old daughter, and she wakes up throughout the night. She has a hard time falling asleep. And we tried calling many times, just to the local sheriff and basically to bring up this complaint. So I'm here today just to bring this up. We moved here about 4 years ago to the land, and we love the area. My father has invested tremendous amounts into just his lawn care in general and making the area beautiful. We want to make sure to keep the area beautiful, and we wake up in the morning to like trash all over cans and beers all over the property. It just makes an unsafe environment for our kids, our family, and we just wanted to bring that complaint up to you guys today. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Michael, is it Elimelech? You can correct me when you get up here, please.
Good morning, members. It's Michael Elimelech.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Michael, if you just want to bring those microphones down to you,
Sure.
and make sure that you speak clearly into the mics. I have the volume up as loud as it'll go.
Okay. So my name is Michael Elimelech. Good morning, members of the council. I live in DeLand. Currently, I live in Grand Avenue, but I speak on behalf and as a member of our community. We moved over here 3 years ago from New York with the intention to settle and live over here long term with our family. Since then, me and my wife, we had our first child over here. My wife started working as a doctor at Halifax Hospital. I moved my business here as well. Our business, my business as well, we offering several jobs to the the people of the city of DeLand, and we definitely want to continue our life over here as long term. City Limits Bar, they started here about a year ago. They, I guess, purchased a place, they renovated it. We welcomed it like any other business in the area. But unfortunately, since they moved here, it became a problem to the area. If it's noise issue, if it's safety issue, for us, our children, we have families that have newborns, and this bar just brings a lot of disruption to the area. It brings a lot of safety issues, like I mentioned before, and overall, it's every day there's just noise on a daily basis. I would say definitely every weekend. I am currently building my home across the street from the bar, and I'm a bit worried how I'm going to raise my family over there. And if it's safety, if it's the loud noise that's happening every weekend, from reckless, intoxicated drivers to street racing, I just don't feel safe of raising my family over there. We do not ask them to close their doors merely to abide by the law, if it's the amount of decibels they're allowed to use, or the guideline as required for them as business of their nature. It's not fair that people enjoying a business that's thriving on the account of others suffering. We are family and a community of hardworking men and women, from doctors to handymen. We love the beautiful city of DeLand. We're very happy to move over here. We see our future over here, and we wish to be able to raise our family here with prosperity, and we ask the members of the council to help us fix this issue that is disrupting many of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Ishenko. All right.
We're going to do, all three of us will make this faster. It's the same complaint that Mikal was just talking about. We've been here for 4 years. We moved from New Jersey, and we lived across the street from the bar. And there wasn't a lot of action the first year. I guess there was some sort of management, ownership, I don't know how it works, some sort of change. So it was pretty good and uneventful the first year, but then after that, it became so unlivable that we actually moved. But we were renting a home, so it was, it's inconvenient, but it's something we could do. I think a lot of people that are having these issues, they're not renting, so they can't just up and go, which makes it complicated. But just to paint a more clear picture, this is not like a bar that's in a backyard. This is like completely open. They're not playing Mozart for us every morning at coffee. Wouldn't be complaining about that. This is all night, sometimes till 2, 3 in the morning. It's blaring, it's rap. You can use your imagination for the words that come out of that speaker. And sometimes it'd be so bad that the windows would vibrate. So we have 2 kids, as you can see, that are under 3. Sleep is already not so much fun. Training is not a good time. But when you're dealing with windows vibrating, 2 o'clock, 3 in the morning, consistently, every weekend, they'd have things on Sunday, it wasn't so bad, but Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, it just became unlivable. And we tried everything. We did our part, white noise machine, all these different machines to black out the noise, certain curtains that, you could put over that create a barrier. None of that works. So eventually we just moved out. But the second part of the noise, it's creates a different kind of vibe, if you know what I mean. The people that go there, they're not calling an Uber to go home. They're, it's like a seeming competition for who wants to make the loudest noise with their pickup truck as they leave. So it's, the tire marks, the whole 9 yards. And that was what woke up the kids the most, because you hear that at 2, you can't really ignore it. So that's my side of it.
So, as you said, she moved from New Jersey, we got married, and from our experience in this area, the people here are really kind. We really love this area. We came from New York, all the hustle and bustle, and everybody stepping on each other is trying to. And over here, we really find the people really to be nice.
Very respectful.
really likes this place. We do not think that the people from DeLand would actually, if they would know what kind of harm they're causing to the people who are living around there, would really agree to this too. This is, the people here, we really like this place. We really appreciate it. We came, rural area, it's beautiful that we had over there.
Really enjoy it.
Buildings, we have horses and cows, and it ruins the whole environment of this area. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, this is going to be a challenging morning. Lavia, are you here? Challenging would just... Oh, good. Hey. Okay, David Davidovich, I got one. Stop it.
Morning, members. My name is Davidovich. I live in 4455 Mills Road, which is directly across from the bar. And I'm here with my family and my 5 kids. And I'm here to complain about the noise, just like the rest of my community. Just like you know, we moved here 4 years ago. No regrets until now. We love D-Land. It's still beautiful compared to where we used to live. This is like heaven. When I purchased the property, I was aware that there was a bar across from me. But compared to what it was and compared to what it is now, it's night and day. The previous bar, it was, they had weddings, they had people coming, but it wasn't noisy. I could deal with it. I had no issue. I had not even one complaint. Ever since City Limits moved in, I'm sorry to say, but it's a nightmare. Guaranteed almost every night. Not every night, I'm sorry, not every night, I'm not gonna lie. Almost every weekend, starting with Friday night and Saturday night, they have loud music. And since me and my community members are Sabbath observant, we're not allowed to use electricity, so we cannot call on Friday night, we cannot call on a Saturday during the day, and it's getting to us. It's come to a point that I've called the police on many occasions. They do come, they do lower the music, but it could be, if it's before 11, the police asks me to call them after 11. Or what happens is, as soon as the police leaves, an hour later, 2 hours later, people from the bar come with loud music, with banging music, comes to the point where my windows start to shake at 2 o'clock in the morning, vibrating, and I'm not gonna call the police at 2 o'clock in the morning, and every time I call them, they say, there's more emergencies except the loud bar will be there, and by the time they come, it's already of no use. My kids have a hard time sleeping. My oldest daughter sees a therapist, so this way she could sleep. Please help as much as you can, because it really is getting to us. I'm not, God bless him with the business, and I let him make the money as much as he wants. All I'm asking is for the noise to stop. Please, council members, do the best that you can. Thank you very much.
David Fisher?
Hi, how are you? My name is David Fisher, as you just mentioned. I live at 4469 North US Highway 17 in DeLand over here. Me and my fellow neighbors are here today to express and explain our issues with the City Limits bar that's near my house. Ever since they moved in, they have brought a loud and dangerous environment with extremely loud music and bass. It is really heartbreaking to watch my 2 kids, which one of them is 13-month-old girl, and another one is she's under a month old. I see them startling in the middle of the night because people that leave the bar, they think it's a good idea to make even sometimes laps around the block. They come back around and they drag race, and it's a really loud exhaust noise. We're here to just raise awareness of this because we just realized that that the council is not aware of this situation, and we thought that just by calling the police and that it would be enough, or that something will happen like that. So we're here today to explain that we love that there's a running and working business that's making money and bringing prosperity to the area. We're all for that. We love that people are having fun. And like a few people before me mentioned, that there used to be another place over there called Pitmasters. I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with it. And they were really nice and respecting people. They tried to keep the place nice and clean, and we had no issues with that. And if there is a party every once in a while, obviously we're not here to complain about every small thing. It just, when it's reoccurring and it's happening for about a year now, and it's just progressively getting worse, that's where we have to actually step up and express ourselves. I actually live right next to another bar that's right next door to me. It's about 75 feet away from my front door. They're called Brass Rail, and they're really respectful. They make some noise here and there, but again, like I said, we're not here to complain about that. We love the area. We really appreciate everything over here. We did move out here from, like they said, New Jersey, New York area, and it has been really a blessing, and we just wanted to bring this up to you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm probably going to get this wrong. Is it Isaiah Glasman?
How are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
This is my wife, okay? She speak for me because his English is much better, okay? For us, actually, okay?
Good morning. We just moved to here 2 years ago, and we live next to a bar, and it starts to be very loud every night, not every night, but the most in the weekend. And I like air, and I cannot breathe, and I need to close all the windows because my kids. So because that we move to other street, and it's still allowed, still hear that. And yes, we suffer for that. It's too much, too loud, and my kids cannot go to sleep early because that. So we really wanted to take care about that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. John Nicholson?
I got one. You got that one right. You say wait.
You want to wait till, keep everybody together? Okay, thank you. Elia Katz? And will there be two of you?
Oh, just me.
Okay.
How you doing? My name is Eliyahu Katz. We moved here about a year and a half before COVID started. Thank God. We looked for an area where we want to move. About 2 years it took us to find a nice area. And we finally found a beautiful area where not a lot of crime, quiet area. Most of us bought a lot of houses. I myself own a few houses and a couple of rentals. Thank God, God blessed me with some fortune. But the problem is now, people that want to rent houses, when they see a bar, they all want to know, what is this? What's going on? Is it like a family area, or it's more, well, obviously I'm not going to lie to them because we're not allowed to lie. And I tell them, yes, it is a bar, and people are hesitant to move over there because of the reason of a bar. And I have 5 kids. My wife is a PharmD, pharmaceutical doctor. It became a problem where my kids came in ride bikes outside because they're having drag racing over there with those big trucks, and sometimes those small SUVs or whatever it might be. I don't mind them if they have a bar or anything like that, but I live about almost a block away, but the music is so loud in the middle of the night. My kids waking up. We don't let our kids hear this like violent music where there's cursing and all this stuff. And I used to sit with my kids and learn outside. I have a little porch over there. We can't do that anymore because it's just so much noise where you can't sit and concentrate. Just we're asking for you guys to give us the help to understand us. And we have a place where we worship. The only problem is you're sitting on Friday, Saturday, you're connecting to God, and all of a sudden you hear this music blasting. It's like you guys have to understand. And we have a church right next door too. It's just imagine you're sitting and you're connecting, and all of a sudden you hear this loud music non-stop. It's like, I understand it's Christmas or New Year's, any other holiday. Absolutely, it's absolutely fine. It's okay, we all understand it. But where it's every single Friday, Saturday, and sometimes during the week also. But when we do call the cops, by the time they come, it's already too late. So, we're not asking for anything special. We're just asking for them to by the law and maybe to make the decibels a little bit lower. This way we could just live normally. We came here before the bar came here. We looked for a place where we don't need to deal with all this nonsense. That's why we left New York. We don't agree with what they're doing over there. So we came here to live the way Florida is, like it's supposed to be. And now all of a sudden we have all this craziness back to being like we're back in New York. We're all from cities and we used to live over there. We left the area because we don't want all this craziness for our kids. And a lot of us have 5, 6 kids, and we're family oriented, and we're investing in the place. We're buying more areas. We're building places much better. We are going to end up building our own houses too to make the area better. But we want to invest in a place where it's quality living, not just anybody just comes and does crazy stuff. Thank you for your attention.
Odia Katz?
Good morning. My name is Odia Katz. I moved to Florida to have a better, quiet, and safe, secure place to live, which I thought I did find in DeLand. But unfortunately, about 6 to 8 months ago, the bar opened up it's 5 minutes walk from me, and my entire house vibrates when they have their loud music or they have, like parties. It became actually to a point where it's not even safe to walk outside. As a woman, especially when there's cars driving, there's so much pollution around, and we have anti-Semitic comments constantly being thrown at us, which I've never even experienced that in New York. To have that issue in Florida is just worrisome a little, and there's so many kids that are running around. I do have a daughter that loves to run around, loves to walk outside, and I have to keep her inside constantly because it's just not safe to be there. So, we do call cops. They do come, they do lower the noise, but again, it just doesn't help, it doesn't work. And they're back to the same thing. I can't keep myself locked up in the house. And like I said, we need some sort of understanding, some sort of a safe environment to live in. And I'm hoping that you could address it and help us in the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaya Fisher? Kaya?
Good morning. I'm a little bit nervous. It's the first time I'm ever doing this. I guess by now you already heard so many comments about the city limit bar. So I'm here to present the same case where we moved about 4 years ago. I'm sure you heard it many times. And we moved here. I'm the pioneer to bring everybody here. So I researched about the land, and it's a beautiful area, and we enjoy it, and our kids love it. I have 7 kids, and there's many more out there from my neighbors. And the reason we moved here is because of the beautiful and the warmness and the safety and security. We moved from New York, and it was a disaster there, and we love it till today. But unfortunately, things have changed for the past 8-9 months, and it's really disturbing, especially for my little kids. It used to be everyday fun for us. We go for a walk, we go ride on a bicycle, we talk in the middle of 9 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock in the evening, but now it's almost impossible. And we had the pitmaster before. They had weddings, they had karaoke, they had a lot of sounds and a lot of noise, but it was reasonable boundaries. And now it is bizarre and it's disturbing on a daily basis. And it gets worse on the weekends, which is Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Now, we as Sabbath observers, we can't call. So the only time we are able to call is Saturday night. And we call after 9 o'clock, and we called once, twice, multiple times. We made a complaint. They brought the decibel reader, and we about 700 feet away. And I have a recording where 700 feet away, you still hear the bar from my home. And there are people that are closer. It's disaster. They have passed the limit. They were written, I believe, complaints, and they know about it, but nothing so far been done. So we ask of you if you could help us to continue to bring this warmth and safety and security for our children in the beautiful city of DeLand. We wish to continue living there. We bought houses there. We wanted to expand. We wanted to bring more value to the place rather than, discourage people from coming here. So please, we wish for you to address this issue as a one beautiful city and town, and to help one another to make a better place here. Thank you so much.
Moshe in Dorsky. Thank you. Hey, no laughing at me.
Good morning, my name is Moshe Indorsky. I'm going to speak on the behalf from my father-in-law. I moved out personally a couple years ago, a few years ago, from New York. In New York is everything loud, and you can't live over there, you can't do nothing over there, no businesses, everything is like full of, in New York is everything very, you can't do anything over there. Basically, it's loud, and anything what you do, you get locked up or fines or something like that. So I was looking for like a quiet, nice place. I moved out here. It's really nice, really enjoyable, really nice people, nice everything. I'm going to be speaking over here on the behalf of myself, on the behalf of my father-in-law. He lives across the bar, city limits. Because of the lot, there's like Saturday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. There's a lot of times there's very loud music, and it bothers people to go to sleep. People want to be fresh in the morning, and it takes out a couple hours from the night to go to sleep earlier, to be like fresh in the morning, to go to work, kids to go learn, kids to go, kids to be fresh the next day, and sometimes the music is getting. It's not just simple music. Sometimes it's like there's some not clean music, as we say. So I really want to bring out the point over here that it's already too much over there, and it's too loud and too noisy and too. We like the neighborhood. We love the neighborhood. It's a very quiet neighborhood, a very lovely neighborhood, and lovely people, nice people, and even sometimes me myself, I'm walking on the street and I'm like looking around. I'm looking if something is gonna happen or something like that, because sometimes I hear noises, cars are drifting and making noise and back and forth, and I'm like looking around, what's going on? And I'm like, I want to go more on the side on the grass all the way in people's properties. I don't want to walk on people's properties. So I'm like, what am I doing? And I can't walk on the street, and it's very unsafe. And so I just want to address that. If you guys can do anything about it, thank you so much.
Okay, Efrat Ben Shalimo? Thank you for your help. That was your father-in-law. Great, thank you. Is Hila Ben Shlamo?
Good morning, everyone. I want to start by emphasizing that we came here and we really loved the place. Everyone were really friendly and really kind, and we really always willing to help the DeLand community. and we are with you together in, like, making the place better, higher value and everything. We have the same goal. We all want to have a peaceful neighborhood. We all want to have a safe neighborhood. We all want to have a low crime rate and high quality of life. We don't want any of us or any of our children getting hurt. During the last year, it became harder to achieve these goals. And every weekend, we suffer from an extremely loud noise, and I'm really saying a really extremely loud noise from the bar, which distract the peaceful environment of our town. And every weekend, our roads are being occupied by unsafe drivers out of the bar, which distract the safe environment that our town have. And drunk drivers in our peaceful town is not something we want to have. The fact that no one got severely injured by them just yet does not promise us that nothing will happen tomorrow. We should not wait for anything to happen. To give you the picture, I used to walk at night sometimes or day alone during the weekends, and now I can't do it anymore. I have to walk with my husband because I feel not safe, I feel not secured, and I'm really bothered by the fact that there was such a loud noise, and it's really disturbing. I can't even speak to my husband sometimes while walking because it's really overbearably loud. So please help us to make our town safe and peaceful again. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Kayla?
Wait 1 second.
That was quick.
Thank you. So I'm a high school student. I do online school, like homeschool, and I usually study at night since the daytime I'm busy with work and making money. So ever since they started, nighttime made it harder to learn too. So I don't really have time to catch up with my school, to get my school done, which makes it really hard. Plus, I agree with her about the walking. It's really hard for me to walk. So at night I don't walk. Morning sometimes not either because it's really hard. Thank you.
And what is your name?
Ila. That's the second paper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's Nicole Kayla. And I'm going to let you tell us your last name. And you will be followed by Zoe Katz.
It's New Shots.
New Shots. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm a full-time college student. I'm here today to discuss the bar next door to me called City Limits, which has the music blasting so loud I can't focus on my studies or get my rest at night. No matter the day or time, the bar has the music so loud that I could hear it as if it's playing right next to me, and it vibrates my whole house. Despite our efforts on constantly calling the cops, it doesn't seem to stop. Due to the bar, I have a hard time accomplishing my studies, doing well on my exams, or focusing in class, since I'm up late past 2 a.m. caused by the bar's disturbance. My neighborhood used to be a quiet and safe place to live. I would daily go out for walks to clear my head after a long day, but now, when walking outside, cars would drive so fast and so close next to me, I'm terrified to walk in my own neighborhood. A place that used to be so safe, noiseless, and private is now hazardous and perilous. I don't wish to cause an inconvenience to the bar. I understand that it's their business, but at the same time, it's having a bad impact on my life and my studies. There has to be some action we can take to further benefit the whole neighborhood and bring back safety and tranquility. Thank you.
Zoe Katz?
Hi, my name is Zoe Katz. I live directly across the bar, across the highway, and every weekend it actually starts on Thursdays, but mostly on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That the windows of my house, even if you go to the back of my house, it like vibrates, and I feel unsafe to even sit outside. If you're sitting outside on my porch, which is in the back of the house, you have to like speak extremely loud, and the bar people are so loud you can hear their conversations in the house, across the yard, across the highway. And like I said, the music is so loud, it's impossible to enjoy your weekend. We all want to spend our weekends with our family, enjoying quality time. I think that's the most important thing. And we moved to DeLand for the suburb experience, where I'm assuming it's all about family and spending time together, but the bar makes it impossible to do that because let's say every Friday through Sunday, there's always something happening. And as many people said, there's ridiculous amount of cars that step on their like gas, and the kids wake up all scared. Or even if you're playing in the backyard, sometimes they jump from the amount of noise that's coming from the street. And the amount of garbage that is on our yards is ridiculous now. And just over the weekend, we were outside in my front of the house talking, and a car drove by, said something anti-Semitic, and said, "Go back where you came from." I don't think that's safe, and I don't think that's what DeLand and Volusia County stands for. And I hope we can come together and somehow figure out how they can have a business. We're not against the business, but how they can respect our quality of life, as well as we want to enjoy our weekend, just like everyone who goes to the bar wants to enjoy their time. But I don't think their enjoyment should come at the cost of us and everyone around them. Thank you.
Ruben Samuelson.
Good morning. My name is Ruben Samuelson. I'm a member of the community, how you already heard, and we have the same issue of the city of Bar, city of limit of Bar. And there's, I live across of the bar, right on across, and the lowest music of the day lowest music, it's for us. It was 59 diesel. It's I checked with the police. I filed a report, and I filed complaint in the police. And how we said, all the times the police coming, they lower the music. As soon as the police out, they right away put it even higher. And it's not safe, and it's not comfortable live even in the front of the house. My house, my bedroom, it's window right across of the bar. And it's all the times when they have a loud music, the windows in the house is shaking. I cannot sleep. I already started taking medicine to sleeping. It's insane. We come in here to enjoy the quality life. We come to Volusia County. It was peaceful. It was peaceful people here. It's a nice country, beautiful country. We're all here like working. We're not abusing the system. The opposite. We try to bring some value to the country. In all of them, all of our communities, it's working. It's not like how I said, they're not going to be a burden for anyone. And we're asking you guys, because it's already, police cannot help, at least maybe you can help us, and we work together to helping that bar gonna be work continue. How I said, we're not against bar. Let them doing their business, but do it in a quiet way. Do it in a certain time limit when they have used the value. It is the limit. Until 2-3 o'clock in the morning and blasting the music and racing the cars and throwing all the garbage to my yard, and I have to in the morning come and just pick it up all the bottles of the beer and everything else. It's insane. Thank you.
Tahila Elbaum.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here as a same with my community. I was in the second pregnancy. I lived also in the house very close to the bar. I had to move out from there. It was so loud. I have my oldest daughter, but I said I cannot raise another kid here. We moved to a place that's so far. We suffer from the fact that we are far from our community, but we had to do it. So, and every time every weekend, one of the things that bothers us, is that we all like, okay, the Shabbos is over, like you heard with Shabbos of Shabbos is over, right away, we all texting each other, please, like, can we do something about the bar? Can we maybe call the police, maybe do that? It's like a lifestyle just degraded just because of one bar. And we, like you heard my friends, my community members, we are pro success. We want them to succeed. But it just doesn't make sense if you build a bar in a neighborhood when you see that it's like surrounded by houses. We're not in a downtown, right? We don't live in a building. It's just surrounded by houses, so it just makes sense. Take care of the houses that are around you, and we will also be respectful to the places that you need, right? We want to cooperate and live together. So please ask you to do something, maybe tell them, do the music indoor like any other bar. No problem, we are not going to hear you. You're going to have your time, enjoy. And we can enjoy our life too. Okay, thank you very much.
Benjamin Novak.
Hello everyone, thank you for your time. My name is Benjamin Novak. I'm coming with the same complaint of the City Limits bar. So there's an issue that has occurred a few months back. As we all know, the bar moved in, and it's been unsafe for us to walk, and it's been very unpleasant to sit on my porch to enjoy my music without hearing their music as well. So we're asking today if you could please bring the peace and the quiet that there once was in the land back into the land. Thank you.
Thank you. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, Daytona Beach side. Before I speak about what I want to talk about, if you've noticed behind me, all the speakers wearing yarmulkes, all the women, married women, cover their hair. It is a sect of the Jewish religion, and I was born in New York, the largest Jewish community in the world. My parents moved to Miami, the third largest Jewish community in the world, and I'm still ignorant about the Jewish faith. But I do know that they moved together for community. In Miami, they would be within walking distance of Temple because they don't drive, they don't use the phone, there are things that they cannot do. So this community moved from New York, if you heard, 4 years ago, they moved as a community to this locale. So you're not dealing with an individual, you're dealing with an entire religious community, and whatever you can do to help them, I would ask you to do so. Now for what I want to do. Years ago, I wanted the widening of LPGA, and my city said, no, there's no need to widen LPGA because there won't be any homes built in Margaritaville until after 2025. Well, guess what? At Thursday's meeting of the planning board, they are now building their last 30 units, 130 units. They're maxed out. The same thing is going to happen, and I'm warning you ahead of time. Tomoka Farms Road was before the planning board. All the vacant land that you see from ISB to the I-4 overpass has been spoken for. They're building it out. There's going to be a need to widen that road. It is the access from ISB to Taylor in Port Orange. There's no getting through there. So if there's an accident on 95, it's a perfect thing to send people off to. So I'm asking you to look very, very carefully about widening before all the homes go in. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the public participation for this morning. Thank you all for coming in.
Chair, would you just let them know that we don't respond?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to. I do want to ask if maybe one of you can tell me afterwards if there was, and I might have this wrong, was there a rabbi amongst you that could speak for the whole group?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, just tell me his name and I will contact you after this meeting. Give it to K. Green, Michael Dyer.
Sure. Your staff did speak with a representative, a kind of leader of the group, to explain the code and the process for filing a noise complaint with the sheriff's office. And your staff's also going to get with the sheriff's office to relay what they heard this morning.
And this is actually in DeLeon Springs, isn't it, rather than DeLand?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Who's saying no? Okay. Well, it's close. I live in DeLeon Springs. I see you in our in the neighborhoods. I see your families walking, and of course I see city limits. So I'm glad that staff has already reached out, and we will continue. So please don't take a lack of comments up here as a lack of concern or ignoring your complaints. It's a long-standing policy that we don't respond to every speaker. But when a community comes together like you did, it does require the response that you're hearing now, and we will follow up, as staff already has. Thank you for coming and trusting your local government. Okay, that takes us to item 1, the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything that they would like to pull for comment, for vote, or any other reason?
Move approval.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you do, I'm sorry.
Okay, before I take the motion, do you have something for discussion or for vote?
Specifically for discussion.
Okay, so we, hold on one second. We have a motion by Lowry to approve the consent agenda. Was there a second?
Gertman.
Second by Gertman. And Heather Post, what item did you care to pull?
There's actually 4. It's D Delta, K Kilo, H Hotel, and I India.
DKH and I.
Mr. Brower, I did also want to make a note about Bob Apgar Day, the Bob Apgar Day proclamation, which is item F. There was an incorrect statement made regarding his years of service, and the actual date is November 10th, not November 15th.
Okay. We're what?
We're here for a different item.
Okay. Bob, it's good to have you here. Oh. Okay. We have a motion to approve with a second. We will discuss these items, but I'll go ahead and call for the vote since Heather did not ask for a vote on them. All in favor of passing the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes, and we will start with D.
And so D is the acceptance of terms and conditions for the Federal Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund and approval of the related budget resolution. So I simply just wanted to point out that we are receiving another $173,000 from the federal government to be used really for anything, if you read the guidelines. So just wanted to point out that we are receiving more money from the federal government. That's all I had on D. Thank you.
All right. Okay. And H, do we need Paulo to come up, or are you going to? Yes, H comes before.
Actually, I'm sorry, I noted H and I for discussion, but that was just a side note that I had on something, so we can actually skip H and I.
Okay, and
But
K.
Yes.
Good job, Paulo.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, County Council. I'm Mark Swanson, Interim Director of Public Protection. Item K is for to set a public hearing for some COPCN applications that we received. I have Mark Walcott here from Emergency Medical Administration who will comment on those.
So I just had the question, the narrative says it's inaugural advanced life support transport for these COPCNs. So this is the first time that these three companies were using them.
Mark
and
Walcott, yes.
So knowing that, my question just was, we have All Care Medical Transport, AmeriPro EMS of Florida, and Century Ambulance Service that are looking to provide advanced life support transport within Volusia County. And can you just give us a very brief reasoning or of the services that they're providing and for who?
All three services have
Nursing
acknowledged
homes
an interest to come in and augment our system in whatever way we feel necessary. It's been a bit of a vague description coming in, but they seem very open-minded to come in and help in whatever way they can.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
That takes us to item 2. Are you going to start with this, or is George going to start with this? Retirement of Andrew Cerio.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kevin Captain, Community Information Director. Item 2 is the retirement of Andy Cerio. He is a trades worker with the county's Ocean Center. County Manager George Rechtenwald will provide you with an overview of Mr. Cerio's history with Volusia County government. Mr. Rechtenwald?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Honorable Council, Mr. Chair. It is my pleasure.
Andrew, you weren't in charge of sound, were you?
We're a little gun shy on the sound. Andy began his career here in the county back in 1988. He spent many of his years out in our corrections division. In 2016, he transferred out to the Ocean Center as a trades worker 3. So he's been a dedicated employee here at the county for 33 years. I'd like to have Ocean Center Director Tim Riddle come up and describe a little bit about his recent work out at the Ocean Center.
Good morning, Council. Tim Riddle, Director of Ocean Center. Here with Andy. Tell you a little bit about what Andy does for us. I should mention first, though, he's here with a whole clan of Cerios. He got his wife, Judy, his mother, his daughters, Amber and Rebecca. I'm not sure which one is which. And then 3 grandsons with him as well. So Andy's going to continue to be very busy especially with the grandsons and all that going on. Mr. Rechtenwald mentioned Andy works in maintenance, and 2 of his primary roles have been with lighting and HVAC. You approved a big LED project last year for the ballroom and arena at Ocean Center. That's underway even as we speak. But our own maintenance crew has undertaken a lot of refurbishment of smaller areas, restrooms, storage areas, and Andy's been a part of that as well. However, when I think of Andy, I usually refer to him as our HVAC guy. In Ocean Center, nothing small at Ocean Center. We have dozens of air handlers, hundreds of filters and motors and belts, and he's well acquainted with nearly all of those in detail. Does a good job for us with that. One of the best things Andy did for us after he arrived was, keeping all those rooms programmed is a challenge. It's a lot of space, and he came up with a big color-coded schematic for the building identifying which air handlers go with what rooms, and helping us when we program those rooms to keep our clients comfortable. And in Florida, you know, keeping people air conditioned is important. Keeping them comfortable is important. So he played a big role in eliminating a lot of human error that can come with that just by a big color-coded schematic of the building. Andy's also what I will call one of our hurricane bunkmates at Ocean Center. We usually have 4 or 5 people there during the storm, and you know, did just recently as well. I think Andy was there 72 hours straight from Wednesday morning till Friday during Ian, and he's also been there. We were together during Dorian and Irma as well. So he's one of our hurricane guys, and I'll go ahead and tell you that work is important. You can't stop damage at a building like ours, but you try to mitigate it as it arises. So having people on the ground, because we know that call is going to come. You know, Ian kind of ended Thursday night. We cleaned up Friday, Saturday morning, Red Cross, emergency management call. You know, need a place for shelter. Same day, Florida Power calls, need a place to sleep 1,000 people. So we responded to that. And one of the reasons we're able to do that is because of people like Andy being there, taking care of damage while it occurs. And so I commend him for that. And matter of fact, Miss Wheeler, last Friday, got to see a little bit of a video snippet of a East Arena wall that you could see about 1.5 feet of daylight when the wind was pulling it out. So Andy was one of those that you know, didn't become a human kite, but we've had some concerns there for a while. But all that's been repaired, and you know, he's been a big part of Ocean Center team, and like I said, his efforts have made it so that we have been able to respond to community needs as well. You know, we do convention business, but we're there as that resource when it's needed, and sometimes it's desperately needed. And Andy's a big part of us being ready when that call comes, and so we certainly appreciate that. As far as retirement, Andy, he's a big RVer, has a big RV. I see he has lots of people to fill those bunks and beds. But so if you want to catch up with Andy, you know, start looking in campgrounds. As a matter of fact, I think they have a trip planned to Savannah next week. Is that right? Yep. So, yeah, Savannah, Georgia. So he's already getting ready to hit the road. So again, we wish Andy well in the next chapter of his life and are proud to have had him with us for the last 6 or 7 years of his tenure with the county. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Heather Post. Andy, before
Andy,
you
hang
disappear.
on. Andy, hang on 1 second. So you've been working for the county for 33 years, right?
Correct.
And you have basically been behind the scenes for 33 years.
Right.
And so that's something that I think we really need to point out before you leave, is you are the people and the person that has kept Volusia County running for 33 years. And I think a lot of times in the background, those workers are not noticed as much. And it sounds like you have a hell of a lot of support from Tim Riddle. But, you know, it's the behind the scenes people that really aren't acknowledged a whole lot in general. And so I want to thank you for your work behind the scenes and keeping Volusia County running for 33 years. And I'm very, very grateful for your service. And I just want to thank you for that. And I know that your family has dealt with that as well for all these years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It meant something.
Yeah. Thank you.
Andy, it's true that anytime I see somebody that stayed for 33 years in a job, I'm grateful and amazed. That means in 33 years, you actually work through challenges. We all have challenges in our work instead of throwing up your hands. I know Tim can be difficult to work with. I don't know that, but thank you for sticking it out for the years of service. And this does not require a vote or a motion or a second, but I'm going to ask the council to vote just to affirm our appreciation for your years of work, and not just sticking it out for 33 years, but for work well done. So, and best of luck to you in the future. Go camping. Council? We have a motion and a second for an affirmation of appreciation. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Mr. Chair, I do think we need to acknowledge his wife and his family for putting up with him, for putting up with all of his service for 33 years. Thank you.
Yes. And they're going to take some pictures of you. Should we stand really close?
You can handle these bright colors behind you. The county council, take a step to your right. Yeah. Oh, this is nice. One more. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, God bless, guys.
Yes, sir.
Take me glamping. She was the recording secretary for years, his wife.
For the chamber? Wow. Wow. Okay, that takes us to item 3, budget resolution, acquisition of right-of-way for the extension of Blue Lake Avenue. Tad.
Good morning, Tad Casbier, County Engineer. Glasses out. If I kind of blank out looking to the right, it's all because of that suit. I almost went into a seizure when you stood up for the prayer today. So, this is an agreement to purchase the right-of-way necessary to extend Blue Lake Avenue from its current termination in Victoria Park south to State Road 472. Blue Lake Avenue is a county thoroughfare road. Per our comprehensive plan, it runs from Plymouth at the north end of DeLand south to ultimately to 472. There are 2 gaps, of which this closes one of those 2 gaps. It provides a vital connection between the Victoria Hills section of Victoria Park down to 472, providing a third access point for approximately 800 units, single-family homes in that area. All of that traffic currently goes through 2 access points, one on Martin Luther King and one on Orange Camp, both of them very close to the intersection of those 2 roads. So we're focusing a lot of traffic through that development to that one intersection, which is, with the roundabout, it's much quicker getting through that section, but still there's a lot of traffic in that particular area. This will provide the ability to disseminate that traffic over our system, put it on 472, which has a much higher capacity than either of those 2 roads, and will provide a vital capability to get people in and out of that section if there were an accident up at that intersection. So we've worked
Motion to approve.
All right.
She cut you off.
She cut me off, and that's fine.
Wow. And was that Barb Gertman who cut you off?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Barb Gertman makes
You
the
can
motion.
continue, but
Did that because he made fun of my jacket.
right.
And
Well,
who
a long
was
time
this?
ago, once you get the approval, shut up.
If there's
Phase a
anything
second.
more to get on the record, let him continue, but I just wanted to.
Don't oversell.
To know how critical it is.
Not a problem, that's fine. The only thing I was going to state was that the recommended purchase price or per the agreement is $980,000. The last appraisal on the property was $945,000, so we're very happy with the cost range on this. That works out well in our favor. As a part of this, we also will be constructing the intersection, signalized intersection there at 472 and Blue Lake, which is part of the agreement, but we were 90% of the capacity there, so it made sense for us to go ahead and do that. So, the city is highly in favor of it. The mayor and city manager have both shown up to pledge their support to getting this done. We are very excited about getting this done. Apparently not as excited as Smith Kirk.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes, ma'am.
That was discussion 4 or 5 years ago when I was running for election. So it's been a long time
Longer than
coming.
that, yes.
Yeah. So glad to see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. This is a public hearing. I don't have anybody that turned in a sheet. Mr. Mayor, if you would like to say anything, or city manager, Mike, would you like to? Be careful, because we haven't voted yet.
I'm sorry, Bob Apgar, Mayor of DeLand. Just briefly, I want to, thank the council for, taking this, what would appear to be action in a very few moments. It's been a long time coming, and I want to thank your staff for their perseverance and continuing to work with the city of DeLand. It will alleviate a lot of traffic on both Blue Lake and not Blue Lake, but Orange Camp and Martin Luther King, and provides an additional point of access. So it's needed for the overall transportation system. And so thank you very much for this opportunity. And thank you for what you mentioned for later too.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion by Gertman, second by Ben Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item 5, credit collection, charge removal, and write-off policy, a revision.
4.
Pardon me?
4.
It is. I was hoping to.
You were hoping to skip that one?
No. Kelvin Miller, thank you.
Good morning, Kelvin Miller, General Manager for Votran. We come to you today to get approval for a budget resolution for a grant award. The grant award is for a Section 5307 flex funds, and the flex funds are basically just transferring funds from the Federal Highway over to the Federal Transit Administration. These funds basically are used for capital projects. The capital projects that we have in mind are doing some ADA enhancement projects, and also to replace some obsolete communication equipment on our fixed route and paratransit vehicles. These flex funds come from fiscal year 20, 21, and partial of 22. You see the breakdown, the request for approval of the breakdown of the funds. FY20 is about $1.3 million. FY21 is 1.5, and FY22 is $52,000. Basically, we're using those in toll credits for about $2.9 million to do these capital projects, and we request approval for the projects.
Motion to approve.
So I didn't have to strike that out. Motion to approve by Gertman, second by Johnson. And this, Kelvin, this also, as I read through this includes some ADA improvements or requirements.
Yes, we have about 5 major projects that we're going to do some ADA enhancements on. And then we have about 5 to 10 projects that we're going to do benches and shelters, absence of the ones that Fuel, the contractor, will do to add some more to that. So yes, we will be doing some more improvements.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Barb Gertman, second by Ben Johnson. Any other discussion or questions? You're not going to get to speak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And now we will move to item 5, and Ryan Osowski.
Good morning, Council. Ryan Osowski, Chief Financial Officer. Before you is a revision to the prior credit collection and write-off policy, which the item is actually described as a change in name as well, to add charge removal as part of the title to the item. This item is a follow-up from the October 4th presentation by the internal auditor for the corrections inmate audit. He had a finding to which part of our response was that for clarification we would bring back this policy revision. That direct response part that we're talking about is for the charge removals, which is a section that's been added to the revised policy that's in front of you for vote. The charge removal provision would clarify that separate from a write-off, there is legally unenforceable charges, and once a charge is legally unenforceable due to statute, ordinance, bankruptcy, or any other provision that the county attorney determines, that those charges should be removed from the books and they're not subject to the write-off limits. In addition to that, This policy does clarify that it is applicable to all accounts receivable. The prior policy appeared to apply to customers only, and there was a definition for customers, which would be things where we bill for services like the landfill charge accounts, the airport tenants, utility customers, EMS billing, etc. Those would be what was customers. But we have other types of receivables besides customers, which would be, for example, these inmate accounts that started this. Those are not per se customers. They were generated in a different way. There's also other refunds if we made an overpayment to the state or some other issues. Sometimes we have small receivables related to that, especially related to FEMA grants. This does clarify that it does not apply to grants because grants are separate from accounts receivable for financial reporting purposes. And then the last thing, second to last thing, for those that are not customers, our systems are not always set up to have aging reports. An aging report would be based off of when a customer gets billed. So if a customer is billed on a certain day, 30 days after that, there's a column-based report that'll tell you how many of the receivables are 30 days out, 60 days out, 90 days out, 120 days out. In general, when a receivable gets to 120 days out, that's when we would call it uncollectible. We use that for EMS billing, for example. If a transport patient doesn't bill us within 120 days, those would be the receivables that for financial reporting, we would then call uncollectible. Those aging reports don't always exist for systems that aren't billed. I'm not 100% certain at this time if the inmate system does, but it really is not pertinent as far as we're not going to move something to a collections agency if an inmate owes us. We will still have reports that tell us how old inmate balances are, but they're not going to be the same type of an aging report that would say they're 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. And then the last piece of this would be to bring the policy into alignment with the county manager's authority, which was revised about 2 years ago for charge settlements, so that charge write-offs and settlements have the same authority dollar-wise. And it's actually not even specified in the policy. It's linked so that if the county manager's authority is ever changed, this would automatically be indexed with that change. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Heather Post.
Yes, so I actually have two questions. So you mentioned the aging report is for billing purposes only, but this revision and this replacement of policy was created because of the audit we had done for corrections on the inmate funds.
Absolutely.
And the general point at the end of that discussion was that the inmate funds needed to be basically audited or checked to ensure that we're following Florida state statutes. So every 3 years that amount needed to be purged. What I'm not seeing in this policy change, though, is the whole point of that was that there was no SOP in place to do that, to check and make sure that that we were following the statute after that amount of time. So when I see the aging report, we're actually saying, so we've added language that says balances by parties other than customers, such as refunds owed. So that was another discussion as well, that we have refunds in the system that were just stagnant and sitting there, and at some point we need to address those again. Such as refunds owed, amounts owed by inmates, et cetera, are not required to have an aging report. I get what you're saying, because that section would be for billing, but there is nowhere in this policy, Mike, that says anything about any kind of accountability or SOP that we would have to do, or the amounts owed by inmates or the refunds owed to the public. So where is that in this policy change? Because that truly was the whole reason for the audit in the first place.
The refunds owed that are described in this policy would be those that are receivable to the county. This is the accounts receivable policy. So refunds owed to the public would not be covered by this policy. This is for refunds owed to us, which are limited in nature, but sometimes they occur. For the reason that the aging language was changed is because I did clarify that this is not just for customers. Previously, the policy as it was written, it said that it was about customers, and an aging report is appropriate for customers. For inmate balances, these are inmates that owe us. These are not balances that we owe inmates. So when an inmate owes us, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or 120 days, those categories don't matter the same way. What matters is the 3-year statute of limitations, and that's what's being covered by the charge removal part that we added to this policy.
Okay, so show me the section that's providing for that accountability or that SOP that we are now ensuring somewhere in writing that every 3 years or that routinely that those charges are noted and that we're not in violation.
This policy does not specifically address the implementation of the software system. As it was mentioned during the audit presentation, the software system was changed, and we made sure that the software system was programmed so that charges were removed within the 3-year period. That's also being blessed, if you would say, by the charge removal provision that's in that document that's in front of you, that we're allowed to do that.
Okay. I'm just a little hesitant on the section that specifically says balances by parties other than customers, such as refunds owed, amounts owed by inmates, et cetera, are not required to have an aging report. Is there any way that we could put language or just one little baby sentence, Mike, that says something to the effect of, or that just addresses those, instead of just saying we don't need any kind of time frame or report on these?
The following of the statute that requires these be written off in 3 years would be in a corrections policy and procedure somewhere, because that's limited to corrections. This is meant to be more generic as far as all county receivables.
Well, we're specifically noting amounts owed by inmates. That's why I'm wondering.
As an example of an amount that's not owed by a customer.
Okay, and seeing as how it was literally the reason that we created this this policy change, I'm just, where is it in writing that we are covering the reason that we did the policy change in the first place? Like that that's literally the reason for it, and I'm not seeing it in here, so where is it listed?
The SOPs, I think that you're referring to would be in corrections, and I think they were addressed.
Been changed?
As part of the audit, and as part as installing the software that now runs the inmate banking system. We could try to get the written version of that to you, but basically those are the rules that were put into the software system, as Ryan was saying, that now would actually every year would take a 3-year look back so that people would come off after the 3rd year. So, but again, that would be something that's an SOP within actual corrections. This here is the overarching policy that allows the CFO and then the manager subsequently to either remove a charge that's no longer collectible or do the write-off. Some of the things, again, that were identified by the internal auditor that needed clarification. So that's what we're doing here today, really, is clarifying. We had the ability to do it before, but we wanted to make darn sure there was full transparency and everybody understood, again, what was going on. So we brought it back to have this overarching policy clarified. And then, like I say, in each particular case, in this case, corrections, what you're talking about, there's the SOP of how to handle inmate charges.
I would add to that, there are also other statutory things. The inmates owing us after 3 years being required to write off would not be the only instance of a statute that might affect a receivable. And we don't cover those individually in here. It's blanketly covered that once a charge is no longer legally pursuable, that they should be removed. And that's the charge removal provision that was added to this.
Right, okay. I hear what you're saying, but just the fact that we're specifically noting that they don't need an aging report, which basically means they don't need to be looked at annually or routinely. So I want to make sure that, I mean, because that's literally the point that we did this policy.
There's actually a definition of an aging report, and it's that 30-day,
For billing.
60-day, 90-day. This is the particular report that we're talking about. We're not talking about no reporting at all. We're just talking about the aging report requirement, which is a specific type of report.
So why are we even noting that sentence then that specifically says, hey, the amounts owed by inmates or refunds owed to the public will not be?
Because if we ever did have an internal audit of another area where there were receivables owed to the county, if there's this policy that says we should have an aging report in the system, if it's a refund or something that we don't bill through a regular system that tracks receivables that way, we wouldn't have such a report. So I wanted to make sure we weren't creating any compliance issues by clarifying that this policy applies outside of customers.
Is there any kind of regular report that we do to look then at the refunds? Because I also think if we owe money to the public that we should be looking regularly at those, and those just shouldn't be noted somewhere in an Excel file and remain stagnant. I mean, we should be following up on those.
Money that's owed to the public, again, would be outside of this policy, but we do each year, first of all, refunds are always cut as checks. Utility refunds happen all the time. There are also refunds that happen to EMS, for example, if a customer pays and then their insurance pays later. Those are always cut, and then the checks, once a year we follow the state's escheatment policy, and any check that was cut has automatically been following the escheatment policy, and the auditor mentioned that during his audit. What was not occurring,
I think what
was
the
certain
auditor
things were
noted, though,
not having checks being cut.
right, where
And those are being followed up in the way that was, we wrote our responses, and we will implement those policies, procedures, and changes. Accounting is well aware of this particular instance. We also review all of our receivable balances, whether they have a subledger or not, or payable balances. This particular one was also, as mentioned in one of the auditor's comments, not on the general ledger. So this was a unique circumstance, and it is being followed up on, and it will be escheated annually to the state. If the balances are over $50 as required by state rule, they will be followed up before they get sent to the state with those individuals.
Okay. I'm just, again, looking for something in writing, because that's literally the reason we did the audit, and then we're not really putting anything in writing that is making those changes. So I hear you though, Ryan. Okay. The second thing I had was, and it's just a typo on page 05-3. We need to scratch a word there because it doesn't make any sense. In 1.1, scope and responsibilities, that very first line, the policy shall apply to any and accounts receivable. That word "n" should not be in any sense.
Yep.
So if we could just scratch that when we
will
do
strike that.
the policy. But with all of that being said, I move approval, but I still expect hopefully to see something in writing in terms of corrections SOP as well. Thank you.
Ben Johnson already moved for approval, so I'll
Okay,
give you
so
the
I'll second
second.
it, sure.
Yes.
With those changes. So, Ben, you moved approval, but are you adding the changes then? Yes, the changes that I discussed. Yeah, that was the change. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Ben affirms the motion, post seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor for approval with that change, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries 7-0. Where is he? Item 6, there he is, community events. Kevin Captain.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, honorable members of council. Kevin Captain, Community Information Director. So we have the events. We've got the farm tour coming up Friday, November the 18th. There's a handful of farms that you can tour, both on the east side and on the west side. For information, you can just go to volusia.org and look at the county calendar for November the 18th. We've got 2 events coming up for Veteran Services. We've got the Stand Down event on Holstenbach Drive in the Health Department building. That's going to be Friday, November 18th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And we've also got the Veterans Hall of Fame, which will be an unveiling of the wall here at the TCK Administration Building, and that will be on December the 6th at 10 a.m. Also, the fair, November the 3rd, it opens up and it goes through the 13th. So make sure you take a visit to the Volusia County Fair. I also want to mention Susie Peace, who has been very instrumental in a recycling program for election signs. This is a county-wide supported initiative, and this is November 19th and the 20th is when you can drop them off, but they recycle all of the signs. And so it's a very good initiative. We are certainly trying to push it. We've got some social media ads as well as a news release. So we certainly encourage those not to get thrown in the trash, but if we can recycle them, we certainly do appreciate that. And then just like I like to end with is, if you go to volusia.org, click on news and county calendar, all our events are updated in real time online. Any questions?
Heather Post.
I have a question for you about that recycling of the signs.
Yes.
So I know the cities and especially DOT signs out of the right of way a lot, and so I'm wondering if we're connecting with them to say, hey, these that you're putting in your dumpsters, can you forward
Absolutely.
them to us to recycle?
We can, in fact, I'll reach out to the new PIO for FDOT's District 5 is Cindy Lane from the Shore, so I'll get with her today and give her the flyer and the graphics that we've created for it. So absolutely.
Great, thank you.
You bet. The more we can spread the word, the better.
Yeah, I spoke with Susie Peace, and she's in connection with them.
Good. Excellent. Billy Wheeler.
Yeah, I just had one correction too. On the River to Sea TPO Executive Committee meeting, it says 9 a.m. Wednesday, November the 5th. It's actually tomorrow, November the 2nd. The 5th is Saturday, and I'm not going to be there.
Okay, we'll make that change, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Did you want a motion to approve his report? Good. Item 7, Russ Brown, update and 5th extension of declaration of local emergency for Hurricane Ian.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of council. Russ Brown, Senior Assistant County Counsel. Senior Assistant County Attorney. It's been a short morning. Before you use the 5th extension for the next 7 days for the local emergency declaration, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Motion to approve by Johnson, second by Wheeler. Any questions? Attorney Brown, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Please, I'd like to have a couple of the department heads give a little bit of an update on where they are with various facets of the recovery.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is not just a formality. The declaration of local emergency, it indeed continues, and there's business all over the county being handled. So you're going first.
I am. Good morning. Ben Bartlett, Public Works Director. Just a quick update on what we've got going on the Public Works side regarding our recovery efforts. First slide, I pulled this information off the St. John's River Water Management District. This kind of shows what we're dealing with the flooding in the river. The graph on the left is about a year's worth of river levels. And I'd like to note that the day before the storm hit, the level in Lake Monroe was 3.96 feet. It crested on October 9th at 8.95 feet. Wow. That's a huge, huge increase. And we can understand, how fast that water came up. And And then the graph on the left is really a 30-day look at those water levels and how gradual it's dropping. So as of yesterday, the water level is 7.16. I'd like to note that the previous record elevation in Lake Monroe recorded was 8.51. So we were almost half a foot higher than the previous recorded high. And I just put that in there. I thought it was good information to offer some perspective as far as what we're dealing with the river. So continuing on that note with the flooding recovery, all of our county roads are open in terms of flooding. We had quite a few roads that were underwater for a significant length of time. Our road and bridge folks are out there assessing them to see if there's any significant damages, keeping an eye on them in case there's some significant base failure that we might have to address and possibly get some FEMA reimbursement for. Another issue we've been working on is our Stone Island utilities, our water and sewer system in there. 3 of the 5 pump stations are up and running. We've got 80% or serviced about 80% of the customers in there. We expect to be fully operational when the river level drops to around 7 feet. So there's a couple photos of a couple of our lift stations. Our staff has been out there working in waders, trying to make sure those lift stations are ready to go when we can fire them up and the water's receded. Up next, the beach. We all know the beach took a tremendous hit and sustained quite a bit of damage. We've come up with a plan for beach access during our off season, which is November 1 to February 1. We're looking at 15 beach ramps open on weekdays and 17 open on weekends, which is greater than the minimum, and it's right around our original plan. We've had to shuffle a few around. Working on temporary pedestrian access. We have a lot of walkovers damaged, obviously, but we have a lot of access points, pedestrian access points from our parks that were damaged as well. So we're working really hard to make sure we can provide those access points as quick as possible. If we have to do some temporary measures initially, we don't want people walking over the dunes. We don't want people walking, jumping over the signs that we put up to close those walkovers. We want them to be safe as possible. So we're ensuring that we can get those facilities up and running. And then, I'm continuing to mention this, but the beach profile. We lost a lot of sand in some areas, and what we're seeing with the tides and the combination of the sand is we're seeing about 2 to 4 hours of beach driving per day, which is a significant drop. So that's something that, beach safety and coastal are working on to try to maximize that access. But at this point, it is what it is, and we're hoping for some of that sand to come back, and we're looking at other things we can do to possibly help with that. We're continuing to work with private property owners to provide access as much as possible so they can make their own repairs, and we're handling those requests as they come in. And then the other thing we're working through FEMA process. We've got a lot of damage. We're trying to make sure we maximize that reimbursement, and that requires that we follow their rules and regulations as best we can. We don't want any projects deobligated, and we want to maximize that reimbursement so we can reduce the burden on the taxpayers. And then finally, debris operations. We're about...
I'm sorry, just before you go past the beaches. So last Friday, was the approval for the property owners, the changes in the rules?
The emergency final order? Yeah, Paolo's actually going to speak to that.
Okay, I want to make sure that is addressed, because I have a lot of residents beachside who are wanting to know what they should be doing.
Paolo's going to speak to that extensively as far as that final order.
Thank you.
Just real quick on the debris, we're ramping up, working as hard as we can, pushing the contractor to get as many trucks in here as we can. We started on October 5th. Through yesterday, we're about 160,000 cubic yards of vegetative debris. That's about just over half of what we anticipated. C&D, we're still working on. Of course, that comes out slow. There's some areas we've gone out, scouted the areas on the county roads where we know it's heavy on C&D. And because of that, we've opened what we call a C&D debris management site that's going to reduce our haul times by about half and increase our efficiency. So we're really looking to get that picked up as quick as possible. It's still coming out, as people work with their insurance companies and get the contractors on board, that demo starts coming out. And so, it's going to be a steady stream for the next 20 to 30 days. And lastly, our target is to get as much of this, if not all of it, picked up and disposed of by the 22nd, because that's 100%, that's the we get 100% reimbursement on everything through that date. So that is our goal. So unless there's any specific questions, I'll turn it over to Paolo to discuss the EFO from the DEP.
Thanks, Ben. Paulo Soria, Senior Assistant County Attorney. So as you mentioned, on Friday, the Department of Environmental Protection issued a Volusia-specific emergency final order. We call those EFOs. And what it did is it essentially waived 3 primary obstacles for private property owners to protect their properties. So the first one is to remove the provision of when you repair a seawall, that it has to be repaired to the original level of protection. A lot of these seawalls have kind of like frangible fences on top, which the DEP doesn't count as protection. So it allows those property owners to kind of build back to the height that they are used to, gives DEP a little bit more flexibility to those private property owners to permit or re-permit their damaged structures. So the second one, which is kind of important, is it waives the determination for eligibility. So in order to get a seawall, your main habitable structure needs to be eligible. So what does that mean? That means that your structure has to have been permitted prior to 1985. And the DEP kind of waived that rule. So 1985 is when the coastal construction standards began. So permits after that, usually those houses are constructed on piles, they're a little bit more protected. Usually after 1985, you cannot get a seawall under the current rules. So the DEP for Volusia County waived that provision so that structures that are constructed after 1985, so long as they are vulnerable, which means that, usually a foundation is exposed due to storm, they can get a seawall, they can protect their property. So that's kind of a big thing. The third one is in the event that the county manages to get some sand and do a beach renourishment project, that actually puts a 9-month stop on any seawalls. We don't kind of want that. So we want to go at it on both approaches. So the DEP also waived that provision so persons can get seawalls and get permits even if the county or some other entity is engaged in a beach renourishment project to kind of renourish the beach. So those are the 3 primary things. The EFO does not waive the requirement to get permits. So you still need a permit, depending upon the type of permit. If it's a temporary temporary armoring permit for like a sheet pile not to exceed 4 feet, small bags of sand or sand replacement, you can come straight to the county, right? We'll issue that temporary permit. We'll get you going. Anything larger still requires DEP. As a reminder, DEP is still embedded and housed with the county at 440 Beach Street. So we urge all constituents and anyone who has any questions or wants to get their property protected, contact the DEP immediately. Get that permit in, get that application in, so that they can start the process. They can kind of tell you where to go and how to go about that. So that's one of the things that we're seeing is that, a lot of people don't file that permit. DEP has stated to us and in the order that they will expedite those permits in this area.
Yes, Billy Wheeler.
Yeah. Paul, explain to me again, so let's say in the shores, we had traumatic beachside issues all the way to Pond Sunlight. There's one condo, St. Kitts, that did not have a seawall, and it's fairly new. It's in the last 15, maybe 20 years. But their grassy area is gone. So can they now get a permit under this new?
It depends upon it depends upon if their structure is vulnerable. And vulnerable has a definition. Usually it is, there's a whole analysis of like a 15-year storm and erosion, but fundamentally it's if the foundation is exposed. So even
does
if it's
that mean does it have like a distance from drop off?
That's something that really should be done with the DEP. They'll take a look at it to see if, even if the foundation isn't exposed, if the a coastal engineer can do some calculations to determine, you know, an erosion event can reoccur and make that structure vulnerable,
Oh, without a
they'll
doubt.
issue that permit because they can now ignore that eligibility provision. Like the structure doesn't need to be constructed prior to 1985, but the structure, regardless, must still be determined to be vulnerable, and that's really something that DEP has control over. It's a good, you know, if you can see the foundation, that's vulnerable, but there are other kind of provisions that where if they don't meet that, the DEP does have something according to their rules to grant a permit if the structure is, you know, in danger of further erosion.
Jessica, you know which one I'm talking about.
Good morning, Jessica Fentress, Volusia County. I urge everybody who's an oceanfront property owner who is nervous or concerned about the security of their structure to take advantage of this opportunity to go and talk to FDEP in person, have a conversation with them, talk about solutions, talk about, you know, if you don't qualify, what can you do today? The DEP does have the ability to issue it's kind of like, they're allowed to issue a permit for a structure that is threatened for vulnerability, but you cannot commence construction until you've hit that vulnerable distance. So they can issue a permit saying, okay, you're gonna meet, they'll run the model and they say, okay, you've got 15, 20, 30, 40 feet, whatever it is for that vulnerability structural analysis. When you hit 14 feet from the corner of your building, you are now authorized to go to construction. So they'll run it and they'll tell you where your magic marker is. And then you can measure, you know, and I want to be very frank and honest. We are looking at a storm event that's coming this weekend. You're going to have 6 to 10 foot waves with 20, mile per hour winds coming out of the east. So I urge everybody who may or may not be listening to this, go and talk to DEP and see what your options are in both the short term and the long term. Yeah. If you create a relationship with these permitting agencies, then they're taking every location on a site-by-site basis. Okay. They wrote the flexibility in the EFO to take all the circumstances surrounding a location and then to make a decision. So I just urge everybody to go and create a relationship with our permitting regulators. Does that answer your question sufficiently?
Yes, thank you.
I think, Jessica, that's the most important thing that the public can hear right now. It's critical that they go and have that face-to-face, because we started today with the season for northeasterlies. We're not done with this yet, and there's going to be more damage. So thank you for making that so clear. So we're posting that everywhere,
right? We're getting that message out there.
That's a standard reply on 90% of the emails that I've sent in the last 3 weeks.
Jessica, also, go ahead.
I do also, if we're making that comment about go and visit DEP, I want everybody to be very cautious on the contractors and the engineers they hire. Yes. I don't want anybody to get somebody from out of town who may not have experience doing work on the ocean, specifically Volusia County's ocean, because we have a very dynamic wave environment where, the West Coast they don't have to deal with the wave activity that we have. So your cheapest may not be your best, and your most expensive may also not be your best. So just do a reference check on everyone and make sure they're, registered, certified, all that stuff.
We also had a lot of damage to beach approaches, and some of those approaches, I think it's Seaview, is adding to the danger in nearby homes, structures. Do you have any update on how the approaches, the repair schedule, or what can be done there?
We're very limited there's a couple of approaches that we believe we can put back in place exactly the way they are or were previously to the storm event. The one we discussed yesterday with Mr. Rechtenwald was Florida Shores, because that's a very critical approach. It's a high volume approach. It's a very popular approach, and it also provides, access in an area where a lot of our ramps were damaged. That one will probably move fairly quickly because it's easier than the others. It's not tied into people's seawalls. It is kind of an independent structure location by itself, where you don't have the property on the south trying to do a seawall, or maybe they're out of town or out of the country and you can't get a hold of them, whatever. Seaview, for example, we have been communicating with the representative for the property owner on the north. The county is open to allowing private property owners to tie their new or armament repairs into our structures. The timeline on Seaview, if you think about these ramps, they're kind of like roads where you want them to last for 50 years. You don't want them to be frangible and wash away in the next storm event, because then you're kind of like limiting access and losing your progress that you've made. So ideally, specific for Seaview and a couple of the other ramps that, you know, jet out pretty far into our shoreline. River Beach, for example, is constantly wet. I can't even get down on the sand to demolish it because it's underwater 24 hours a day right now. Seaview, I'd like to be able to tie Seaview back similar to 27th Avenue in New Smyrna that we just completed last off-season that held up really well, similar to Van Avenue in Daytona Beach Shores. The north end, we don't have one I can compare it to give you a geographical reference, but basically the seawalls act as your sidewalls for your vehicular beach approach. And then your vehicular approach meets the sand at the seawall. So you have a steeper incline down to the sand. It goes back a little bit further west, but it's more resilient to storm impacts because you have the structure damage. And then you may deal with some erosion if you get some really bad events. But Van Avenue had a foot drop off after the storm, but it's gone. It's replenished itself already. We can't, as the county, make the decision because your damage is so significant at $15.5 million across the coastline itself. We can't, if this was just one ramp, sure, we jump the gun, we do it, we reorganize a 313, your beach capital fund, and just knock it out and done. But when you've got 9 ramps, the risk is too much to not get all the boxes checked by FEMA and DEM to confirm that, you know, you're spending your money wisely. We don't want to get too far down and then get told to pull back. So right now we are awaiting a assignment by a FEMA representative to come and look at these projects. They have to make the determination if we qualify for hazard mitigation, which is one federal route of bureaucracy for reimbursement. Is it an alternate project, which is another route for reimbursement through the federal agency, or if they're only going to repair the last 50 feet and we have to figure it out. So ideally, you'd rather pay 12 cents on the dollar, 12.5 cents on the dollar for a repair that will last, you know, for the next 50 years. I'd rather not spend 12.5 cents on a dollar on something that's going to fail next year in a nor'easter that's not a named storm event. So we're truly, for our vehicular ramps that are not easy, we're waiting until FEMA comes, and we're just at their mercy right now on assignment.
Which ramps are open?
Well, we have the Volusia Beaches app. You can download that. It tells you real time.
Good answer.
All of your New Smyrna ramps are open except 27th Avenue. 27th is just too wet right now. You're not getting a tide that will allow for beach driving. Beach Street is open.
That's okay. We'll use
I've got it for you. You can get on at ISB. You can get off at Silver Beach. You can get off at Bodifer. So it's southbound only for ISB all the way to Bodifer. There's, you know, it's been called ground zero south of Bodifer with regards to private property damage. And then you've got a significant amount of ramps closed between Bodifer and Amelia. The only ones that you have operational right now are Van Avenue and Amelia, and there's nowhere to go because then you hit the Sunglow Pier damages and they're actively working there. Seabreeze is open, University is open, Williams is open, Harvard is open, Millsap is open, Granada is open, and Cardinal is open.
For a couple hours a day, because we don't have much beach left. And it'll re-nourish, but it's gonna take a while.
This weekend is not the weekend to go to the beach.
No. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Jessica? Okay. Jim Judge.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brower, members of the council. Jim Judge with Public Protection. In following up with Ben's presentation on the FEMA process, let me kind of bring a few things that have already taken place and what we can expect going forward. Back on the 16th, we did have the FEMA Region 4 Administrator come to Volusia County along with Kevin Guthrie, the State Division of Emergency Management Director, and each brought quite a few staff with them. We had the State Recovery Officer, and with that, they did tour quite a bit of Volusia County to look at the beaches, and then also inland as well, all the way out to the St. Johns River. And then on the 21st, we had FEMA Critical Infrastructure Task Force folks here in town, as well as the Public Assistance Group Supervisor, and certainly our local FEMA representative, which is Glenn Irish. Glenn's been absolutely wonderful to work with. Talked to Glenn probably multiple times every day, and he's been a huge help to us. And some of the things that they looked at were areas all along Atlantic Avenue, in Daytona, New Smyrna. They looked at the Frank Rendon Park, our beach safety facility over on Dunlawton. And then also they looked at our approaches, our walkovers, our public parks, and certainly all of the beach safety rescue facilities. So with that, the next process. So we have already made application for public assistance, and with that, Volusia County, along with all the municipalities, are now deemed eligible. There are 7 that are pending, and those are mostly churches. So then after that, we will have the Florida Division of Emergency Management along with FEMA will come in and coordinate our public assistance introductory meetings with all the applicants. Similar to what we've done both with Matthew, with Irma. We've been through this process, as have the cities, so we'll continue with that. I don't have a date yet on when we can anticipate that. I imagine they'll be both virtual and held person to person at the Emergency Operations Center. And then from that, FEMA will assign program delivery managers and conduct specific meetings with each of the applicants. So that's where we go next. So just some other data. We've had over 57,000 individual register for individual assistance. Over 25,000 have been eligible for individual and household programs, with close to $62 million have been obligated to Volusia County. The Disaster Recovery Center is continuing to work very well. We've had close to 3,000 individuals visit that Disaster Recovery Center, and total damages so far are over $340 million. We have 301 individuals around the county that have checked into the temporary sheltering assistance in our hotels and motels. And we also have our intergovernmental affairs. Maria has been wonderful. She's been providing a wealth of information to Kevin and the Public Information Network that they've been getting out. And then also this week, we anticipate that the disaster survivor assistance teams will be going to Stone Island and working with them. And of course, Ben did mention the St. Johns River, which is still at moderate flood stage. So just below major flood stage, and it's going to be another week to 10 days before we even get into the minor flood stage. So we still have a ways to go all along the river. One note that was really happy to hear was Maria, our intergovernmental affairs lady, had nothing but wonderful things to say about our app. She found that to be immensely valuable as she went around the county and used that to help provide information to the public. So we continue to work through the process, anxious to get that public assistance meeting scheduled and get the word out on that. And again, both virtual and in-person meetings will be taking place with that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Billy Wheeler.
I'm sorry, Jim, this isn't for you.
Okay.
I forgot to ask you something. I'm sorry. What's the story on the jetties and the park down at that end? If you could just give an update without crying.
Getting all the easy questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have people asking, so they're wondering if that park, yeah.
So Lighthouse Point Park, the access to the dog beach was damaged.
Yeah.
And you have to think about, if something is open to the public, it should be open to everybody in the public's physical capabilities. And while, you know, a spry 19-year-old surfer and fisherman may very well be able to handle maneuvering through damaged areas, my mother may not be able to. So the dog beach access was completely destroyed. We've worked to restore that. The connector to the concrete jetty, which we've rebuilt 7 times since I've been here in the last 6 years, is gone. It's my understanding that facilities just is either in the process of getting it complete or just recently got the electric reconnected back to the CT tower at Ponce Inlet. So they haven't even been able to man that station. They've been trying to do work to get that put on. We administratively decided that the Port District is just going to make this a priority to open the park back up. We had our third-party engineer go out and make an assessment on what portions of the stair walkovers and the jetty connector are still structurally sound and what is damaged and needs to be removed. So there's a demo line on them. Our trades workers went out there yesterday, Tide Limited, and started working on basically cutting the bad part off. So the demo is not doing the cutting. The demo is just pulling. Our folks in-house, and we only have 2 trades workers. So our 2 trades workers in-house are, they're spending their high tides cutting stringers. While they can't get on the beach, they're just pre-cutting stair stringers. And once we can get the demo done, we're going to just be popping stairs up all up and down the coastline. Lighthouse is going to take priority. Every one of our dune walkovers was damaged. We're going to get the contractor in there to pull the demo part out that we've disconnected from the walkovers. We'll have our stringers ready to go. It takes about 1 day per set of stairs to install a set of stringers. The contractor is also going to demo the remaining portions of the jetty connector. You've got about 300 feet of what we call speed rail, which is the aluminum handrail that is along the jetty deck that was completely, damaged, bent in half. I mean, it's amazing what Mother Nature can do. There's a procurement time on that. I don't have my lead time on when that will be in. We can't open the jetty deck up, which is a concrete structure that is actively taking waves for the public to walk on it so they can fall in the inlet when we don't have a lifeguard in the tower. It's truly not safe to be in the park. We've opened it up to beach driving. I'm hoping we can get the park open. My original goal was Thanksgiving, but watching this nor'easter come in this weekend, I don't know how realistic that's going to be. I'm really aiming for Christmas in December. If we can get it open sooner, we will, but we are truly limited by the tide conditions.
Thank you, Jessica. I just think it's really important for the citizens to know. I don't think everybody understands how badly we were hit, and they're just wanting to get back on the beach. And it's truly not safe in so many areas. And a lighthouse area is one of them.
I would ask the public, we put the barriers in place for reasons. I'm just going to take the opportunity to ask this publicly. We've got closed signs on walkovers that have 30-foot drop-offs off the end of them in Wilbur by the Sea. Do not climb over the sign and stand on a walkway that has no structural support under it. We suffered the same seawall impacts that everybody along the coastline suffered. We've got some cave-ins behind our seawalls. We have barriers in place to prevent people from falling through the pavers that they may think are structurally sound. They're not. There's a reason why we have things closed off. We're not trying to make it difficult to get to the beach, but we do want everybody to safely be able to get there. We are focusing on our parks as our priority.
One of the things, I want to alert people also, because there is such a short area, a beach that you can get on for a short period of time, don't get your towels and your children up against the seawalls that are leaning. This is not safe. And I know you want to be on there, but this is not the time to do it. So.
Thank you, Billy. Who's next? I had a question for you, Ben. I didn't know if it would get covered. This may still be too early. You mentioned getting eyes on some of the roads, Maytown, Morgan, Alderman. Have you heard any reports back from them on the base or the condition?
Not initially. We haven't seen any major, we've had some washouts that have been uncovered, but nothing, I think I mentioned before, it's about a 50-50 proposition whether a road that's been inundated with water that long is in good shape. So we haven't seen any visual evidence that there's major damages, but as the water table continues to recede and sometimes you can get some movement. There might be some voids under there that might show up. So we're keeping an eye on all those roads that were inundated. We haven't seen anything major yet. We definitely want to, as soon as it happens, we want to document it because that's when it becomes eligible for FEMA. They won't pay for anything that's not kind of in the immediate vicinity of the storm.
So is Maytown open?
Yes, yes.
What about 46?
46 is open.
Yeah. What's the time frame to qualify for FEMA?
I don't know if there's an exact, you got to basically tie it to the storm event. So there's no hard and fast time, but you want to make sure that you can tie it to directly as a result of that storm event.
Usually some engineering discussions that will take place. I think road damage in particular is a tough one because and they're aware of that, FEMA. They'll give us a little bit of a grace period, but for the most part, when the water comes down, if there's not a hole in the road, they're not going to pay. So it's definitely an issue that we'll feel in some cases a year later. It takes some time for that to show up. I'm hopeful. He said 50-50, and I think that's probably a reasonable number in some of these areas. But we've, through the years, improved the type of bases that we use and asphalts that we use, so we'll see how it does hold up.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the directors you had
for this.
Okay, then we'll move to the county manager. Thank you all for your updates.
Yes, sir. Well, first I wanted to open by thanking my team, not just the department heads, division heads, everybody. Again, always amazes me and makes me proud of how everyone does respond, and we have done that again. I also, just specifically on this beach work and the emergency final order, I want to give kudos to our team. It was led by Jessica and Clay and Ginger and Paulo. Everybody worked together. We gave a lot of very good information, very specific information that went to the governor's office, to the DEP, that I believe helped them make what really is a tough decision on their part to put together that. And so I want to thank them and our delegation, and recognize the people from the state and the governor's office who did put this together in a very good period of time. And I, again, just reiterate what Jessica said now, is that people really do need to take advantage of that. While the DEP is embedded here, they need good engineers, they need to get down there, and I think it's an opportunity that people need to take advantage of. So, other than that, the other thing I had, which we could, if you want, Mr. Chair, I could defer to a little bit later, or it is time, unfortunately, with the election here. This is our last meeting before the election, and that does mean one of your distinguished colleagues, and this will be Dr. Lowry's last meeting unless something above us changes. So this would, we do have a little something for him, but we could wait and do that at the end of, yeah, it, well, with his bright jacket today.
You should do it now. You can do it now.
If you'd like to do it now, then.
It's your time.
Let me, you have no public comments turned in? Okay, okay. You didn't want to roast Mr. Lowry? Okay. Yeah, I was gonna save it for council responses, but we can do it at any time.
Okay, well, I just would, again, we, as the team came together, and we always like to acknowledge, first of all, to people out there listening, the amount of time and effort that your council, all of them, put in, it really should be commended. I don't think people do realize that it becomes such a full-time commitment, not on an 8-hour level, but certainly at more on a 24-hour level with phone calls, events, things you have to do. So we as staff and as also citizens just appreciate that occurs. And Dr. Lowry, you have just an outstanding working with us. I just want to point out, he's of course been on the council since 2015, served as the vice chair 19 and 20. Of course, his district, for those out there listening, includes South Atherton, Deltona, Enterprise, and parts of Osteen. I've worked with Dr. Lowry, and I've been honored to see how he has served his constituents with kindness, respect. He's always attentive and diligent. I think he's been the type of representative, he's done this as a friend, a neighbor, pastor, and of course, an elected official. Of course, what a ride it's been for the time you've been here. You've been there for 3 major hurricanes. Of course, Matthew, Irma, and now Ian, and a couple of near misses. In your tenure here, you've been here while the popular Echo and Forever programs have been re-upped. We renovated the airport terminal and broke ground on new medical examiner's facility. I think we've done a good job working on projects for, especially in the water quality area. We've put together a large collection of projects and also using a large portion of ARPA. While we've ramped up public protection, we've of course worked on homelessness and on the housing crisis. And we've done all this by really holding the line on taxes. I also just want to point out in your area, of course, Howland Boulevard. It's been a major project, opening of Lemon Bluff Park. We did develop 20 miles of trail segment from Gobbler's Lodge to Maytown Spur. So I just wanted to point all that out. Of course, long before he got here, Dr. Lowry, one of his greatest achievements, at least we feel, he married well. His beautiful wife, Victoria, I married in 1973. He was blessed with 2 beautiful daughters, Vanessa and Veronica. And Dr. Lowry does hold a master's degree in religious education and a PhD in New Testament theology. And before he came here, he had other careers, which he was in the hospitality industry, and he's also a school teacher, a high school principal. So he's pastored in other areas, Georgia, Tennessee, before coming here to Deltona. And of course, let's not forget his time down on the Deltona City Commission from 2010 to 2014. So I'd like to present to you a little token, and we are going to miss you. I'll bring it on over. Is this a handgun?
Is this a Colt?
Dr. Lowry, I just want to present you with this little token of
Thank you very much. Coolest things happened recently is my wife and I became grandparents last Wednesday at 9:20, which was the exact moment of the day that I was born. So there's a timing thing there. But anyway, thank you very much. It has been an interesting ride. From when I was on the city commission, we were just getting past '08, and it was rough to do anything, to have money to do anything. And then coming here, things started picking up. And then about the time things get going, you got COVID and hurricanes, and it's been back and forth. But I'm just proud of the staff here at the county. When I came, that's one thing that I was just amazed by, was the scope of work that this county staff does. It was impressive. It was just amazing. And it's been a pleasure to work with each and every one. Anytime I had a difficulty, constituent-wise or whatever, something going on, I got answers, I got work done, and it's been wonderful. And I'm going to miss everybody. But anyway, I have a farm, and I have a garden, and I have a granddaughter, so I will stay busy. Thank you very much.
You'll hear more. Michael Dyer.
Yes, just want to report Russ Brown is in the audience. I told him I wouldn't do this, but he did get a court victory this morning. Not often we get a court ruling on the day of a council meeting, but in the Gabaline eminent domain case involving the construction of the East Central Florida Regional Rail Trail, we got a good result at the trial court level, and we found out this morning that we prevailed in front of the 5th District Court of Appeals. So great job, Russ. Thank you. And that is it for me. Thank you.
All right. We'll move to the council then. Ben Johnson.
Yes, it's kind of bittersweet, Fred. You've been great to work with, a good friend. I'm very proud of the relationship we've had on this council and what you've done for Volusia County, both working in Deltona and here. You've had a very rewarding life up till now. It's not over by any means, but it's not a funeral, it's just a going away party. But I know that I will definitely miss you and miss your smiling face up here and your sage advice and your, like Danny looked at me a minute ago and says, who's going to say here, here for us? But real proud of the association and good luck to everything you do in the future. I know you're going to be around and we'll be seeing you. So thank you.
About anything? Why don't I have you go last? Okay. Heather Post.
I had a question about actually the billing system that we have. We still have EVAC on our bills. So EVAC changed over in 2011, and I know that has been a continuous discussion over the years. March of 2022, we finally got all of the signage off of the ambulances and off of the uniforms, but I did get an EVAC bill the other day for the ambulance ride, and it had EVAC on it, so I was very surprised about that. So if we can work on getting rid of a company that has not been around in over a decade, that would be great representation, I think.
Yeah, I look at it, maybe they're just trying to use up some billing stock, make sure there's no legal, I think we got all the legal stuff out of the way for name change.
Over a decade, so I mean, I'd love to see our supply room if we still have, okay. And then the other thing was the ARPA funds discussion this morning. Ms. Miller came, and I know that I've asked about that as well, but I'd still like to see the reasonings that the 40-some-odd people did not receive their ARPA bonus. And I know that there's a few recently that have now been getting it, so in the interim. And that's really it. But if you have more information, that would be great, Dana.
So, good afternoon, Dana Page Pender, Human Resources. So there was a second round, I know Mr. Rechtenwald shared in the communication back and forth, and we did have conversations with that employee.
Right.
But Mr. Rechtenwald shared in the conversations that we were going to take a closer look over the summer with the individuals, and we did. So anyone who was on a state or federally protected leave did receive the ARPA dollars. Actually, they received it out of the general fund because they didn't meet the ARPA requirements, which was the hours worked. So that was the next round that went through individually looking at those individuals. So there were just a few left that didn't meet the qualifications. And I think I shared that it may have been like a total of 17 or 20, somewhere in that range, who were either didn't work at all, or didn't work the hours, or didn't meet the requirements that were outlined in the memo.
And so one of the requirements that we had, and I don't know the circumstances behind Mr. Miller specifically, but one of the requirements that we had that was that if you were involved in an IA, am I correct in that? That in an internal affairs investigation, you would not receive the funding, is that correct?
So anyone who may have been a part of a discipline that was unfounded was paid once they were cleared.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be clear of. Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to be clear of. Thank you very much. And Fred, I don't know who's going to keep me young anymore. Every time I see you, you always call me kiddo. So at almost 50, you've kept me young for a long time, and I've greatly appreciated that. So, but I wish you lots of luck in your retirement for sure.
Danny Robbins.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing in terms of business, but just to echo what everybody said, Fred, thank you for your leadership and the time you've dedicated to this community. Little did I know, a lot of this stuff wasn't in the brochure when I signed up for it, but you know, watching you and what you did, it kind of gave me a little bit better path and understanding, and hearing some of your reasoning and different ideas through your windshield has definitely helped me out along the way. And you know, it wouldn't be right if I didn't say something, but we appreciate you. I appreciate you. And once again, thank you for everything that you've done for us. So thank you.
Billy Wheeler.
Thank you. First of all, I do hope we really reach out to that community with the city lights bar issue. I think it was really amazing to see an entire community come and ask for help. So to those out there, we heard, and if there's anything we can do, we're certainly going to be doing it. I did want to ask somebody, there was an email that was floated around, but I heard from a city commissioner in Daytona about the lights under the bridge of Veterans Memorial. Can someone tell me when we're going to get those back on for safety reasons? Well, that got short, didn't it?
I'm just going to lean down. Sorry. The lights, the controller, it's a complicated controller that runs those lights underneath the bridge, and we're sourcing some parts for it. It's getting kind of difficult. We've had the electricians out there to look at them. We're waiting on some parts.
Did that happen during the storm?
There was some I think they were up for a little bit after the storm, but we found some damage in there, and so we're working on that. But yeah, we're on it. I know we've received quite a bit of information or reports that they're out. We're aware of it, and we're working as fast as we can to get them up and running. We hope to get them up in a week or so.
Will we have spare parts for the future?
Yes, yeah. It's not, you know.
I think it's windblown water they got into the controllers, so there could be also a FEMA claim associated with it.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
So, again, these are new to us to have those kind of lights and up under our bridge. So we'll figure out what we have to do to be a little better prepared. However, again, I think considering the storm that occurred over there, we came through it pretty good shape, so hopefully we'll be able to get the parts. We're just like everybody right now, getting parts for anything has been difficult.
So where are the parts? Off the coastline of California?
Hopefully they're not floating in a shipping container in a
Not the
Pacific.
same company that brought in the playground for the park, but I asked the question, I don't understand why it's not just like your standard pool timer,
Yeah.
click on and off, but apparently it's a little more complicated.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring that up. And Fred, we became acquainted when we were both city commissioners. You know, when I was city commissioner in Daytona Beach Shores. You've always been respectful and honorable, and it's been a pleasure working beside you. It truly has, and to get to know your family some and Vicky's just a delight. You complement each other. Congratulations on the grandbaby, and I know that's going to fill up a lot of your time, but we are definitely going to miss you because you've been a stabilizing factor up here and respectful, and I appreciate that. You've been honorable, and that's something that we need, and you certainly have exemplified that. Thank you for being a fellow partner, and I just wish you much success on your next journey. I'm going to miss seeing you.
Thank you, Kip.
Thank you, kid. I love that. Whoa.
Oh, Barbara Gertman.
Thank you, Chair. Each time I'm going out into the community and I'm asked about something, I'm always telling the community about coming and letting their voice be heard. And I really respect that community that showed up this morning.
That was great.
And that's the example of, I know everybody can't take their time away and it's a challenge, but that is certainly a way of representing and coming and letting us hear your voice and really putting it in front of us to say, you need help, even if we can't get you what you need, right? Although we'll try. But it really matters to be heard, to be seen, and to put it on the record, and they certainly made that happen. And they did it respectfully, and again, acknowledging and respecting business, right? So I really hope we are able to help them come to a better resolution for their quality of life. Besides that, I'm going to ditto what people have said. Fred, I've appreciated your calm demeanor, your sharing your experience, our conversations, even when we didn't always see eye to eye. We were able to have those conversations and be respectful and understand that each one of us represents in the way that we do and we choose to. Like Heather, I appreciate being called kiddo, not from everybody, but it was appreciated from you because I knew where it was coming from. And I just wish you the best. I'm a little jealous that you've got a granddaughter. I've got 2 boys, and I'm good with that, but just putting it out in the atmosphere eventually, you know. I want to buy some dresses for a little girl.
There you go.
Might have to wait for the great-grand, though. Oh, I'm good with that. I'll share. I can be a good godmom. So, but I just want you to know you are appreciated. Anybody that's willing to take this on for 8 years, like you've done, it takes a lot. It's a big sacrifice. It looks easy to the public, but please know this is it becomes who you are in so many ways, and you're never off, right? So I respect that you gave your service, and now it's time to, go home and relax, and appreciate your family. So, well, I mean, go play on the farm.
There we go.
There you go. But I do appreciate you and all you do, like I do my fellow council members. So thank you so much.
Me.
No. Barb, I'm not going to call you kiddo, but I will call you Vice Chair Barb Gertman. Just a quick update. I had the pleasure of going to the LID conference, Low Impact Development Conference. It was the second of 3 planned events down in Rockledge, Florida. This one was geared more towards implementation. The next one I'm actually looking the most forward to, because that's the one where they're going to pull in developers, all the different players, and I don't know how you implement it without getting on the same side of the table with the development community, with home builders. So that will be a good one. But I'll tell you, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, except to say it was really good. What I did want to say, George, is how not just pleased but proud of our county when I got there to see that we had 5 staff members there. Ginger Adair, Samantha West, Katrina Locke, Tad Kesbier, and I'm missing one. Pardon me? Storm. Yes, she was there. But they weren't just there filling seats in a large room. They participated very positively and had good points to make. It just made me proud to be there with them, and glad to see, you know that this is something that's important to me. So it was timely for us, since we're in the middle of that, or working on that now. I was really pleased to hear the comments that they made to the public there and to the speakers. So thank you for allowing them to go, and I know that they probably all paid dearly for it, because after spending 2 days there, they were 2 days behind. And in the areas where they work, they really can't afford that, because it's one of the busiest areas of our county. So thank you for sending them. Fred. I want to genuinely tell you that I appreciate how you have encouraged me to stretch and to grow. And this might be interesting to the public, because I have people ask me all the time, how do you get along with fellow councilmen? Because of our position, we don't get to talk a lot in public. But whenever it's appropriate, and I do see you, whenever we're behind here having lunch, you have always treated me with respect, with kindness, and I appreciate it, especially as Barb said, in times when we've disagreed. So I appreciate that. You, George, talked a lot about your background, and he said something about your greatest achievement. There's one other that I want to mention that, and this is, I mean this seriously. You have taken a foray into farming, and you've done it seriously. And I am really pleased to hear that. I think it's really important for the future of Volusia County. So I pray for you that your chickens will be productive and your eggs will be plentiful. But there's something that the public doesn't know that's also, if you're in farming, you know it's a great achievement. I think you're the only person in Volusia County that I know that planted and harvested 2 crops of corn in one season. Now, I don't know if your last crop was flooded out or not by Ian, but you would keep me posted on what you're doing during lunch, and that really is quite an achievement. So I'm glad to see you doing that, and I want to encourage you to not just continue, but with food shortages becoming more prevalent around the globe, that you would maybe take it to your congregation and then out into the public for neighborhood farming and helping people learn how they can grow maybe just 1 crop of corn in a season and some vegetables. But I'm really pleased to see you doing that. I wish you all the best. I'll be praying for you, and I will give you the last word.
Okay. For those that don't know why it's not December 31st, because I ran for the school board and they're not in sync, which I would recommend they get in sync in the years ahead. I had to resign to run effective November 15th, so the 14th will be technically my last day. Congratulations to the sound people. Man, you guys did great. It was pretty rough here last time. Also, I don't want to scare any of my church members. I'm not retiring, okay? So any of them that are out there listening probably are wondering what's going on. And I'll just say finally, I've already said a piece already, but Tad commented about having a seizure a minute ago as he looked over this way. Actually, it's a medical condition that you need to have looked at. It started in Florida a few weeks ago, and it spread to Alabama, and I hear there's signs of it in Georgia going to be popping up. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's where that's at. A church member got this for me, and my wife said, "Are you going to wear that today?" And I said, "Yes, I am. It's my last hurrah, so I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory." But anyway, thank you, everybody, for the wonderful comments. It's been a good time. Like I said, I know at church, been there for 30 years in Deltona, and I've been pastoring in ministry for 50 years. Your staff is so key. Oh, it makes your job either really hard or really easy. And you guys, this is awesome staff here. It really is. And I just want to brag on them again. It's my final word. Thank you. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm ready, yeah. I'm going to head up to Indiana soon, I think.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, with that, we will call the November 1st County Council meeting, call it over at 12:14. And we are adjourned. I believe there was some sandwiches and a cake for Fred in the back.